What's going on, everybody? What's going on? Good to see everyone once again. If you're looking at the replay, please share the video. It's Dominique.
And it is Dexter Peggins.
And this is When Men Open Up, a show where we are redefining manhood through transparency. And man, we got another good one. I mean, we always got a good one.
Yeah.
But you know, I really like the interaction. I really like the response from this one. And I really do believe this is something that's very important for us to really talk about and discuss. You know. But we're gonna really have fun with this one, and it's happy wife, happy life. Happy wife, happy life. So really, you know, from my understanding, we're gonna let's really break down our understanding so we can make sure everyone's on the same page. Because that's the very important part. We want to make sure everyone's on the same page, and everyone is still tuning in. And those of you that's still tuning in, please share the video. We are going to start having our lives on this page. We won't be going live from my individual page anymore. What's up, Roderick? We won't be going live from my page, from my individual page anymore. We will be going live from this page. So if you don't want to miss any announcements, any notifications, please change the notification settings on our page so you can make sure you don't miss anything. Because we really want you all to be engaged and participate when we have in our discussions, our conversations. But basically.
Man, listen, before we dive in, I was nervous when we agreed to go here because, you know, my wife, be doing one of these.
Yeah, you told her don't tune in.
Yeah, like, baby, just check the replay.
What's up, Cam? How you doing?
So if I'm not here next week, hey, I love you guys. Thank you. It's been real.
I think you're going to be here.
Yeah, I'll be all right. I'll be all right.
But nah, I mean, it's all fun and games. This is one of those things that, you know, with every topic that we really address, especially with us being transparent, we have a responsibility as well.
Oh, definitely.
So, you know, we can't just brush over anything. We just can't, you know, have a lack of empathy and a lack of respect overall when we're talking about these topics.
Oh,
whether it's geared towards men or women, we just have to have respect. But happy wife, happy life. You know, what's your understanding of this statement?
I was always taught that, you know, by some older gentlemen growing up, that if you keep your wife happy, that you'll be happy. And so, you know, I was always I was taught to approach the relationship component, you know, kind of self-sacrificing, you know, making sure that in many ways that you disregard your own happiness for the sake of your partner. I will say that life is a very good teacher, and life has caused me to question that particular philosophy and to accept another one, at least a variation of that particular belief. So let's get into it.
Okay, cool. And mine's along the same lines. I don't want to just state verbatim what he said, but aside from what he said, it's almost as if you're giving. It's almost as if their happiness is above yours.
Yeah.
Their happiness is, you know, a priority. Their happiness is basically the primary thing that you need to be, you know, concerned about. You know, above your happiness. And I think with this statement, there are some. For the most part, I do disagree with it. For the most part, there is some parts of it I think if you really put some thought into it, it may be true in some ways.
Oh, yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
But, you know, happy wife, happy life, is that really our responsibility? That's my question.
Starting off, I would definitely say no. That's not your responsibility. I think it is something that you should be concerned about. I think it's something you should be invested in, but I don't think it's something you should take ownership of. At the end of the day, happiness, what I've discovered, is oftentimes circumstantial. You know, the check came in and I feel good, and you know, the birds were chirping and all of that other stuff, and so I'm happy.
Yeah.
But happiness is oftentimes fleeting. I believe that as a man, one of our primary responsibilities is to pour into an environment where there's peace. Not only is there peace, but you know, you're encouraging and you're loving towards your spouse. I think that's our primary responsibility. Happiness, I can't control how you feel. At the end of the day, that's your feelings, and you own that.
Yeah.
I don't need to compromise or degrade myself for the sake of you being happy. But if I'm doing my best to create an environment, or at least cultivate an environment where there's peace, then at the end of the day, and love, then I'm doing my part as a husband and as a partner.
Yeah, and I think, when it comes, and that's the part that, I kind of agree with when it comes down to this statement, is that peace part. I think many of us, the guys, our goal is we just want a peaceful home.
Yeah.
We just want peace. And as long as we can have that peace, honestly, we are willing to sacrifice a few things for that peace, for that peaceful home. But I don't think it should be our responsibility. I think when you take on that responsibility, what you're doing is you're also taking on a burden as well.
True.
Because what you're signing up for, and not being aware of it, is you're signing up for something that you're going to fail at.
That's
you get
good.
What I'm saying?
Yeah, that's good.
And because, like you said, we can't control it, but I do believe that we can influence it.
Yeah.
We can influence that happiness. But let's be honest, when we have a problem, our first question is, what can we do about it? What's the solution, and so forth. And that should be the question. I mean, with anybody who we say we love, when there's a problem, hopefully, if you actually do love that person, we're going to try to see what's going on. What is the problem? Can I really do something? But there's a difference between taking that ownership and that responsibility, because now we're going about it a different way. We're going about it the wrong way. And when we're brainstorming different things that we can probably implement and do, and we do fail, now it hits us a little different.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's not a good thing, because if she's not happy, she got something going on, and now I fail, now I'm not in a good boat as well. You know, and now we're both upset. I think it's very, very important for us to really understand, are you really taking ownership of that? Because now you're going to really be taking on that burden. You don't want to do that. So this is the thing. We got to have the right mindset towards the problem or that situation. And you kind of brushed over, I think the mindset that we should probably have is to always show support.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We should always express our love. I love the book, 5 Love Languages, because it really helps with your understanding of how to express love and how that person may want to receive love as well. But that may be temporary. You know what I'm saying? It may be temporary. It may not work. So I think if we can have that mindset of showing love, support, motivate, inspire, I really do think that can really help as well.
Yeah, and I think when we talk from a biblical perspective, it's easy to confuse the concept of joy and happiness.
Exactly.
They are not the same thing. You can live a joyful life. I'm not happy every day. That's not realistic. But I am joyful every day, and that comes from a relationship, with God. I think about David. It said that he encouraged himself in the Lord, and I think maybe in Philippians it says something to the effect of rejoice. And again, I say rejoice. So it's your responsibility to find the joy for your life. But once again, happiness is situational, just like Vicky said. I can tell you that on the first of the month, I got a smile on my face because that deposit just came, and I got a little energy. And but 4 days out from the next pay period, I'm kind of grumpy, and the reality is once again, it's circumstantial. And so when you take on the responsibility for somebody else's happiness, you're trying to create a generic circumstance that you cannot maintain.
Right.
That's almost like saying that, I'm not going to let it rain today. I don't have that type of control. And so it's false, and it's not genuine to try to say, hey, I'm going to make you happy. What I can do is I can contribute to an environment where you're at peace and it's a joyful environment. I'm not going to try to invoke you to anger and stuff like that. That's easy. I can control that. But once again, I can't control your happiness. At the end of the day, you're going to have to make that connection with what makes you happy, and you're going to have to maintain that type of environment where you can sustain that for yourself.
Right. What's up, Randall? And you know what? And with certain issues, certain things we're going to have to deal with, personally.
Exactly.
There's some things that we're going to have to really deal with within. And I think that's another thing that we have to really understand. Is this something that person is going to have to really map out or figure out within themselves? But with that being said, because we don't want to project the wrong message.
Yeah,
when we say that person is going to have to deal with that within themselves, we're not just saying, well, you're just on your own.
Yeah, no.
We're not saying that. There is a support factor in there, and like we've been saying, everything is situational. So within those type of situations, it may be solely on them. You know what I'm saying? It may be solely on them, and we may have to help them out. But it's very important to understand those type of issues, because then we may play the wrong role. You get what I'm saying? And we may get out of the husband role. So when it comes down to showing support, showing love, motivation, inspiring, whatever the case may be, I'm doing that from a husband standpoint. I'm doing that from a husband position. But now what some guys tend to do is they get into the counselor role. You get what I'm saying? And we're not saying that you all can't sit down and have a talk and have an understanding, but it's a difference between you playing the counseling role and you being that husband. I think it's very important to always understand what role are you really playing, because sometimes some guys, they may be playing the father role.
Yeah, man,
they may be playing a father role, they may be playing a counselor role, whatever the case may be. But when we step out of our role as a husband, then we really tend to really start stepping on some ice, because we are kind of getting into some false expectations, and we are getting into some things where we're not equipped, or we should not have that responsibility, because we're just set up for disaster.
Oh yeah, definitely. I love how you pointed out the role component, and so I'll say this, that as a husband, I believe the term actually derives or it means house band, one that holds it together. And so at the end of the day, I'll say it 1,000 times over, we contribute to an environment of peace. My concern in my relationship with my wife, I want her to be happy. Right. But I can't own her happiness.
Exactly.
I'm thinking of several times, and you've probably done it before. I know my wife has done it, but we can choose to be upset, and no matter what the spouse does to make them happy, you want to hold on to the anger. And so what you're doing is, you're turning all these flips and trying to do all these tricks to make someone happy when they've already determined that they want to be mad.
Right.
I know if I've been upset, I know that I can choose to hold on to my anger.
Right.
No matter how many jokes you tell me or whatever, I want to be mad. And so imagine how confusing, how frustrating that can be, trying to make someone happy when they've already determined that they choose to be mad. And so I know that a lot of young men, I know a lot of brothers, we fall into this rut where, I just want to make her happy. I want to make her happy. But at the end of the day, your ability to do that really is non-existent. You can love, you can encourage, you can support, you can create an environment where it's joy. You can have fun together, but the whole happiness component is up to that person.
Right. Yeah, and one of the biggest statements that I hear women express is that, I focus so much on him that I neglect myself. And there's a lot of men who do that as well and don't realize it. So when you're taking that level of responsibility, there's going to be times where you're going to really start neglecting yourself. And just like when women express that, now I'm trying to find myself, it's the same thing with the man as well. What is my identity within this relationship? What is my role? What are some things that I need to be doing? And like Libby asked, what are some things that you can be doing? The biggest habit I had to learn as you know, as being a man is we always asking what's wrong. We always trying to solve the problem when they express when they express an issue or a problem. And bruh, it's aggravating, but to be quite honest, they don't really want a solution. They don't really want your advice. You know, in many of those times, they just want you to simply listen. And I think if we can really get out of the mindset of always trying to solve the problem or provide a solution or say, you know what, you need to be doing this, or maybe you should do this. Really just take time out to listen, but not just listen to really understand. So many of us, we have so many small or big conflicts due to this lack of understanding. Small issues, but just because we're just not trying to understand where the person is coming from. It is aggravating talking for 10, 20, 30 to an hour, 2 hours, and the person still didn't really have an understanding, or even let alone just expressing understanding. I had to understand, even as being being in social work, it's so powerful with just summarizing what someone said. You get what I'm saying? And I don't mean word for word, but really just give a summary of what you really heard. You really just clarify what you heard, because what you're doing is you're letting the person know not just that you heard them or you're listening, but you really have an understanding. And I'm not gonna lie, man, when you talk to certain people and you really express that understanding to people, it's like, oh, somebody finally gets me. Somebody finally understands. So that's very, very important when you're communicating with your significant other or your wife, your husband. Really express that understanding to them, because not only are you expressing your understanding, but you're also you're making sure that you have an understanding. Because let's say you're wrong. Now, when you express what you heard, that person will say, you know what, that's not quite what I meant. I really meant this. That holds so much weight. And to be quite honest, it saves so much time.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, going back to that question that Libby posted as far as what can you do, I love how you mentioned the 5 love languages. You know, and one of the things that I know my wife likes is affirmation. So it's not a hard thing to be like, hey, shoot a quick text, say, thinking about you, love you. You know, that contributes to her happiness. I mean, or that contributes to her relational well-being, and that makes her, you know, helps to make her happy. And so that's not a difficult thing for me. Now, at the end of the day, what I'm doing is I'm contributing to an environment of peace.
That's it.
Maintaining that in my household, because once again, that's my responsibility. My responsibility is also to love my wife. And so in doing that, it builds her up. And so in that, she finds happiness. But these are the little things that we can do. Now, I'm not going over there and, trying to buy up a whole bunch of stuff, because she'll be happy in that moment, but then it's fleeting. It's gone the next day. And so, you know, we're not suggesting that you do anything like that. But once again, the simple things, love your wife, you know, that goes a long way. And like you mentioned, the love languages, knowing how to love your wife the way that she desires to be loved, is really what it boils down to. And I think once you kind of understand that concept, you'll actually start to see the happiness more consistently.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's just one of those important questions that we just don't ask. You know, we just go in, I used to be somebody who's just real big on, providing gifts. We going out to a nice place, and that's all cool and all for her, but she just want that quality time. You know what I'm saying? So
and you spend all this money, it didn't even take all of that.
Yeah, so. Exactly. And that's where a lot of us, when was the last time you really asked, your woman that, are you really having that conversation? And, I think online is like an assessment that you can actually take, the 5 love languages, and you can see, your preference and her preference as well. And I think that's very important. But that makes a huge difference. And you save a lot of time, a lot of energy, and so forth. But really just ask that question, what is your preference? Because we typically, sometimes, we usually provide love or express love the way we want to receive it. And that's probably not the way that person wants to receive it. Cleaning up the house and giving her the day off will work too. Like Chris, See, and that's a big thing because some women they just want some help.
Yeah.
They just want to know that, do you see what's really going on here, and are you going to at least help out? And sometimes they don't really expect you to help every single day. They just want you to pitch in every now and then. At least it's just the thought that really counts.
Well, and I want to say this before we get off out of here for today. So the question is, happy wife, happy life, right?
Right.
And am I responsible for it? No, I'm not responsible for it, but I will say this: when your wife is happier, life does seem to be a little bit better.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of something the Bible says: a nagging wife is like cancer to the bones. If you're in a house, in an environment where you're trying to maintain peace, and your spouse is upset, man, that makes it difficult for you to contribute to that peaceful environment. And so, we're not, by no means are we suggesting that happiness is not important. But also, I am a proponent that, everybody should be happy. Everybody should be definitely content within the relationship. We should be excited about loving each other. And if we can get to that point, I think what you'll have is some very healthy relationships.
Right. And let me ask a question. Are you helping out in the home to make the wife happy to have the happy life? We did a video about traditional roles, and me personally, I'm not too big on traditional roles. I really do believe it really blinds you of what's really important when it comes down to your household and when it comes down to your significant other. So with that being said, there's some people that may say, when it comes down to certain tasks around the home, then that's the woman's job, and I don't necessarily believe that. I believe that since we're both living under that roof, then it's our responsibility. Now, one of us may take on primary responsibility for that, but for me just to walk around and just to see things a mess, and I'm just saying, well, she'll just get to it, and and I'm just doing it on a regular basis every day, I don't think that's quite fair. I really think that's disrespectful. But I really do believe that we need to have understanding of our roles. We're not going to get too much into that, but I think that it does align with happy wife, happy life, because those things do contribute to a woman's happiness.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if a woman is feeling like, I'm just doing everything's on my shoulders, there's going to be a good chance that she's not going to feel too good about that.
And you're going to feel it in other areas.
And you're going to feel it in other areas.
Yeah.
So I do believe in chipping in. I am chipping in. And I'm going to continue to chip in. And I don't believe it's a woman's job or a man's job. I believe it's whoever's living in that household's job, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I mean, listen, when you said it all, there's no need to say anymore. So, but, I echo that. At the end of the day, I'm a firm proponent that a marriage is a partnership. And so you're collectively building towards something. And so within the context of the household, we have identified what we're building towards and what each person needs to do for that to be realized. And so, it's not a burden for me to clean up in my own house.
Right.
It's my house, that's not my wife's responsibility. It's our responsibility.
Right.
And there are things that we genuinely do that, the other person doesn't do unless, one of us may not be able to do it. But for the most part, that's my partner. And so we're working together. And like I said, we're both jointly responsible for contributing to an environment of peace in the home. And I think, like I said, if you have peace in the house, that to me supersedes happiness, because once again, happiness is circumstantial. But peace, there's something awesome about peace. Even when you're 3 days away from being paid and eating Spam sandwiches or whatever, when there's peace, it's all good.
Yeah, and so happy wife, happy life. I personally do believe that we got to get rid of the statement. I'm not. I just think we just got to exit out. I'm not too much of a fan of it. But at the end of the day, I think on the flip side, I do want to say that I don't believe anyone's happiness is above anyone else's.
True.
I do believe that it's your personal responsibility to control your own happiness, and I do believe that that's something that you should not take on for your significant other. I really do believe that's going to cause some potential issues. But on a more positive note, I do believe that, we need to understand what really makes our significant other happy. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. How do they want you to express your love for them? What are some things that they like? What are some things they don't like? And understand each other's roles and so forth. I do believe these are all things that really affect, and these are important factors when it comes down to your significant other's happiness. But there are some personal issues that we have to work out within ourselves as well. Oh, yeah. And those are some things that it becomes very, very hard and difficult, a very difficult situation when you take responsibility for that issue that they have to work out within themselves, because that's something that they're going to have to really map out and figure out. But we do believe in support. We do believe in love and motivation and so forth. And I really do believe that's going to really help out, when it comes down to you all's relationship.
Yeah. And so, and fellas, hear me when I say this. You also have to know what contributes to your own happiness and your own love, or how you want to be loved as well. And so at the end of the day, this whole question really boils down to how do we contribute and how do we make a strong relationship within the context of a marital household. And so we can do that if you know what makes you happy, know your triggers, know how you like to be loved. Listen, I did not know how I like gifts. I didn't know it, but I do. But, and I like to talk. And so, these are the things that I really appreciate about my wife. And this is her contribution to our relationship.
Right.
She sacrifices in that area. She's not a really big talker, but, for the sake of, edifying her husband, this is what she does. And then vice versa. I understand her love language. Like I said, it's affirmation. I make sure she gets that, and we're happy, and we're building towards the goal that we have for our household.
Most definitely, man. I really enjoyed this, man.
Man, this was good. I was nervous when we came up with the topic. We definitely got some really interesting feedback.
We did.
And so. A lot of opinions on this matter. At the end of the day,
it's still going on. It's still going on.
At the end of the day, you're entitled to your opinion, but we just want to provide a proper context to it, and like I said, help some people to understand that you're not responsible for your partner's happiness. At the end of the day, that's a personal decision. Mm-hmm. And so once you can get comfortable identifying that this is a personal decision, I think you'll really start to breathe a little easier and notice that things go a little bit better in your household.
Yeah, man, we really appreciate everyone for tuning in. We really appreciate the support. If you enjoy what you listen, please just share the video. Get everybody else tuned in. Get everybody else involved. We've been having much feedback, a lot of opinions, a lot of comments, and we're just enjoying it all. And we're gonna go back and look at some more stuff that people have commented. But we really want everyone to adjust the notification settings so you can always see the announcements and don't miss anything. We really want you to catch every single video. And we're going to be starting to broadcast soon, man.
August 21st, we are going live on WYTV 7 Christian Broadcasters Network. We are definitely looking forward to it. Definitely looking forward to just connecting with the audience that we have and meeting new people who start to follow us. So, yeah, it's a good time.
Most definitely. So,
the 28th.
The 28th. I'm glad you mentioned that. So, the 28th of this month, July 28th, we're having When Young Men Open Up. And we just thought we should really collaborate with my organization, Ace Ambition, which is the youth platform that provides monthly workshops for young men. And we really want this to be a workshop for the young men to understand the importance of being transparent, opening up. The same thing that we discussed in our show, but we just thought, what's a good way to really expand this? And what better ways to reach the young men? We are already involved with the young men, but we really do believe that we can use this platform to really pour into the young men. So July 28th, you can easily search for Eventbrite. Just search for When Young Men Open Up. and also my website, DominiqueBond.com. It's going to be at University of Phoenix at 10 a.m., University of Phoenix at 10 a.m., July 28th. And this is presented by Ace Ambition. You can easily search for Ace Ambition on Facebook. And it's going to be presented by When Men Open Up, our broadcast show. And we are really going to be discussing identity, understanding your environment, understanding how to take advantage of your opportunities, and just understanding, understanding our understandings of masculinity. I really do believe at a young age that's very, very important. So we're really looking forward to that event that's open to all young men ages 9 through 17, and we have limited slots. We don't want anybody to miss out, but we do have limited slots. So please go ahead and register very quickly on Eventbrite, When Young Men Open Up, presented by Ace Ambition and When Men Open Up.
Well, awesome. Hey, as always, it was good. And please, if you like the content, share it and leave your feedback in the comments section.
Most definitely. So this is When Men Open Up. My name is Dominique Bond.
Dexter Peggins.
And we are out. Please join us next time. Thank you so much.